They can, anyone want to reference, anyone want to go back to see what was discussed, they can always come back to see what we were
Sure.
talking about.
In the meanwhile, what I can do is just give a brief recap of some of what we would have discussed last Friday. So basically, we were talking about mental health,
Hmm.
and we had a special emphasis on kindness and
Yes.
how it is that being kind basically influence or impact on your mental health. And so last week, what we discussed was basically just a brief discussion on what mental health really entails. And we said it's a state of your psychological and emotional well-being and ensuring that those are balanced. And we talked about how your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and also your interactions with others, how it also affect and is affected by your mental health, right?
Hmm.
We talked about how in our context, especially within our gynae's context, most persons dismiss the whole topic of mental health because they usually associate it with mental disorders. And we said mental health is more than that, and it's important for us to be observant and to do a lot of introspection with self and to be open and honest with self to realize when something might be out of order. It could be something as simple as a bit stressed out or a bit tired, worried more than normal, anxiety, which can then lead to things like depression, even suicidal thoughts or ideations, and so on. We said it's important for us constantly to be doing self introspection and looking at self, because it's only then we would be able to identify that something is a bit off balance, something is wrong with us, and therefore we can actually seek the help that we actually need, right? Help can come from practicing social workers, psychologists, professionals within the field, but sometimes for some persons, it's just having a good support system, a good social support system, which might include family members, even your children, your partner, extended family member, brother or sister, a close friend that can give that good support. We also looked a little bit last week into how self care, and I know it's something that we're going to touch on a bit more as our views come in, but we talked a little bit about self care and kindness and how it is that we can actually be kind to ourselves. And one of the things that I would have said last week is that it's very important for us to love ourselves. That is one of the most important way that we can be kind to ourselves, loving ourselves, and we can't expect others to love us. We have to love ourselves first and be accepting of ourselves. We talked about forgiveness of self and of others, and also we focus on the importance of having value and respect for yourself and setting standards for yourself, and of course, self care, right? So that is just a brief recap of what we talked about last week. And then I think we went in a little to identify some simple ways that persons can be kind for themselves, self care, with COVID-19 at home. Because oftentimes when we hear the word self care, most of the time persons think that it's something expensive, it's something that has to be extravagant, it's something that they don't have the time to do, it's something that is going to cost a lot, either in time or in money. It's something that they have to leave the house to do, something that maybe they need to be alone and by themselves to do. And so often we find that persons neglect self, not realizing or understanding that in order for there to be balance, especially a lot of parents, fathers and mothers, most persons are working whether in the home or out of the home, coupled with taking care or parenting their children, and also being a partner to the other spouse. All of those things take a toll on us after a while. And it's not something that we do today and then we don't do tomorrow. It's an ongoing process. And so self-care, it's important. It's self-care accompanies that. And we see self-care as an ongoing process as well, something that is actually needed. It's essential for our
Mm-hmm.
daily, as part of our daily routine.
Yeah.
So it's very important for us to start looking at self-care in that light. It's something that we have to do just as how we may exercise, just as how we know we usually eat every day, just as how we take care of our personal hygiene. Some self-care is something like that that we need to make the time for. And that was actually one of the most important steps to self-care, is actually allotting yourself and taking that time. Nobody is going to come in and give you that time. Your children isn't going to do it. Your partner may or may not do that. You have to demand and make that time for yourself. And one of the
Okay.
things that I want parents to know is that it's not an act of selfishness to take time out to care for yourself. It actually does more good for your family than bad. Because I think I made this analogy last Friday where I said, think about a parent who takes care of themselves, who is well aware, who's kind to him or herself, who's aware, of their thoughts and their feelings and everything that is happening within them and around them. And, think about when that parent may be faced with a child who quote unquote bad behave or misbehave. The approach of that parent might very well be different. That
Mm-hmm.
parent might very well be much more calm, relaxed, or even understand that, listen, maybe I'm a bit anxious right now, I'm a bit stressed out with other things not relating to this child, so I will pursue to punish, not punish, to discipline or deal with this behavior at a later time when I'm less calm, when maybe I'm not so anxious, when I'm not angry. Because if it is that I deal with the situation as is, I may lash out and may use, a lot of force, which can then lead to physical or verbal abuse.
Okay. So, thank you for
Go ahead.
that bit. We're gonna just jump right into it because we would have already started. And so now you would have explained some of the importance of self-care, and basically, you went around what it is and what you can do. But can you give me, or give the audience rather, a little more detailed, like, explanation or definition of what self-care is? Because we need people to understand what this is.
All right. So, in simple terms, self care, it's basically taking the time to care for your physical, your mental, your spiritual, some might say your emotional well-being. It's actually taking time out from everything that is happening around you to rejuvenate and care for yourself. Now, everybody's self-care regimen or self-care routine is going to be a bit different, because it should be something that you have an interest in, something that relaxes and calms and rejuvenates you, something that kind of helps you to bounce back and to get on track to do all that we have to do in our daily lives. So it's very essential. It's essential for us to just take some time out, plan, carve some time out to take care of us, to take care of yourself. That is what essentially self-care is. It's more than just a hygiene routine. So persons might say, oh, I bathe every day. It's more than just having a bath or brushing your teeth. So it goes beyond a hygiene. It's more so therapeutic. It's something that relaxes and calms and comforts you. It's something that puts you in a place or in a zone where you feel refreshed, where you feel that, okay, I know there's a lot to deal with, deal with. Maybe there's a lot of things to worry about, financial worries, maybe dealing with what is happening now, or just the regular things that comes with life, maybe planning what the next meal is, whatever it is. But so what it does, it gives you that timeout. It's an adult timeout for parents, basically. It's your time to just indulge and care for you. A lot of times we look and we think that this is the responsibility of our partner. It's
Mm-hmm.
essentially our responsibility to make that time to care for ourselves. And so I always say self-care can even go a bit further, where you take care of yourself. You can even have self-care with your partner as well, which would be a more bonding to bring you guys closer together. And then, of course, I say self-care for the entire family. So the family that cares together will bond together, and the ties and love can even be much more stronger. There's a lot of self-care routine and so on that I can share with you guys. But the first and foremost that I would say is actually make the time. Make the time. The number one concerns that parents usually have is that time isn't available. And so it might mean that you have to sit down and hour by hour slot out to fit in that time, right? It might be waking up a bit earlier and have that time for yourself, just to do something for yourself, or maybe late at night. And there are many things that we can do. If you like, Shaquita, I can share some suggestions of things that, simple things that we can do in the home right now, to care for self in the midst of
Yes, go
the
ahead.
pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah, you can
one
choose
of the
one.
simple thing is to laugh more. Make it Make laughter something that we do routinely. Laugh more. You know, it calms us and it actually works the muscles, when we laugh, and it calms us. It's a bit more inviting even for children to approach us. Think about a child approaching a parent whose face is always quote unquote stone cold, always as if they're upset or angry with the world, as opposed to a parent who's always jovial, who always has a smile on their face, his or her face. That parent might be perceived by that child to be more approachable,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that child might feel more confident actually going to approach or to confide or to talk to that parent who they know, mommy always got a smile on her face, mommy or daddy always happy. I could always go and talk to them, right? So laugh more. It's good for us and it's also good for a relationship with our family members as well. I know there are some persons where people would constantly have to keep asking you, all right? Yeah, I'm all right. Why ask your face? Because our face says a lot. Our face can say we're inviting or don't talk to me. I'm shut off. So I would say laugh more. Something you don't have to pay for. It's something that you don't have to leave your home to do. It costs nothing. It's something that you don't even have to literally take time out from whatever you're doing. You're doing the dishes, smile, laugh. I mean, it might come off to some people like, but you're doing it for your own well-being and for those around you. It's inviting, right? Make time also for family activities. It can be a part of self-care. If you sit with your children, sit with your partner, and you play a board game, maybe you sing a song, you do something fun with them. That can also be therapeutic, and it's not just therapeutic for you, but it's also therapeutic for the family as a whole as well. So I also like to say, take time and get in tune with self. That is something I know a lot of people don't really like doing, but have some quiet alone time, maybe secluded, maybe in your bedroom, where you can just really reflect on your thoughts, reflect on your day, reflect on maybe your goals, things that you had set out to achieve for that day or for that week. what it is that you could have done differently. Reflect on maybe how it is that you would have parented your child for that day, maybe how it is you would have disciplined your child, and things that maybe you can improve on. Reflect on ways that you can even improve on yourself, or just reflect on whatever you choose to reflect on. It's a great tool, and it actually helps us to learn a bit more about ourselves. And so it's not something we do one time and we're finished with it. It's something we constantly have to doing, because as human beings we change, just as how we're able to identify the changes in our children and the changes in our partners. When we say the person I knew 5 years ago, this is not the same person, we change as well. But it's harder for us to realize and even accept that we have changed, and we're constantly changing. And one of the great way to actually catch up with ourselves and to see where our likes, where dislikes are, where our stress points are, is reflection. Maybe reflect on how it is when a particular person is around you, maybe how that makes you feel, or a particular subject is raised. And so it also can help you in controlling or managing stress, controlling anger. So reflection is a great tool because it helps you to be honest with yourself, right? And it's one of the most important persons for you to be honest with in the first place, with yourself,
Yes.
right? So take time to be present with yourself. Take time to be present with your children. And when I say this goes way beyond playing a board game with your children. Take time to communicate with them. And I want parents to understand that communication is a two-way fold. And so it's talking, and it's also listening. When we listen for everything. We listen to the tone in our children's voices. We listen to maybe the eye rolls, the body language. So all of that, they're actually communicating with us. So we take time to do that. And if we're self-aware, and if we understand the importance of self-care for self, then we'll understand the importance of also investing that time also in our children. One of the things that I would like parents to know is that when we're at a place where we're balanced, we're kind to ourselves, we're loving to ourselves, we're taking care of ourselves, it makes it quite easier for us to parent, and for us to parent from a place of love and kindness. And by doing that, we're actually teaching our children as well. We know that our children greatly learn a lot. A lot that our children learn is based on what we model. So if we're constantly modeling self-care and taking care of ourselves, we're teaching our children that as well. A lot of us as adults who don't take care of ourselves, to be quite frank, we've never seen our parents take that time to care for themselves. We know we have hardworking parents who work and work and work and work and work, and who sometimes is even angry and upset even sometimes at us, right? But a lot of time we haven't seen them really took that time to constantly care for self. And so it makes it harder as adults for us to learn it. And so it means that now, when we're parents, we have to basically break that cycle and be the role model of what it is that we want our children to become when they're in our shoes, when they're adults, when they're parents, when they're parenting. And these are the things that directly or indirectly, unconsciously, our children are going to learn from us, because it's a behavior that we're constantly modeling to them, right? So it's important that we do that, and our children will learn from us. And we can make, even like I said, self-care an activity between parent and child, which we can also improve communication skills
Yeah.
between parent and child. And so parenting is an ongoing process. Taking care of self goes hand in hand with parenting. In
Mm.
order for you to be effective, efficient at parenting, you You have to put the work in caring for yourself. We have a lot of parents, sad to say, who sometimes end up with a lot of resentment, because they would have worked hard, very hard, at caring for their children and taking care of children, and no time was allotted to themselves. And so when their children becomes adult or old enough, and they feel as if their children is not giving back to them, they can end up with some sort of resentment. And in our Guyanese context, we usually hear parents might say, look how much I do, how much sacrifice I made, and this child or children is ungrateful,
Mm-hmm.
you know and so we have to understand it's important for us actually put that time in. It's very important for us to take care of our children and give them our all. But if we don't replenish ourselves, we won't have anything to give them.
Yes, yes. And I'm so happy that you said that, because there are so many parents who neglect they neglect themselves, and they basically pour their entire existence into their children, not knowing that it is harmful to their mental health, which will create a domino effect and will inevitably become harmful to their children. And I'm so
Correct.
happy that you mentioned um children being role models as parent, and children looking at what you do and basically mirroring what they see you do. So it's important to take care of yourself, because it takes me into my next question of how does children benefit directly from a parent who is self-aware and a parent who practice self-care. But Stacey, it just came to my mind before I go to that. I want us to really stress the importance of why, why must I, as a parent who barely have time for um, to do other things around the house, why is it important that I spend some time on myself? Why is it important?
Okay, Shapito. It's very important for parents to allot themselves and to realize that they're deserving of that time for themselves, because by doing that, they'll be able to give even more to
Mm-hmm.
their children. They'll be
Yes.
able to increase the quality of relationship that they have with their children, that they have with their other members, with their partners. Because when you're kind and you're loving to yourself and you're very self-aware, it makes it easier for you to be kind and loving to others. If it is that you're angry with self and you don't understand what love and self-care mean for self, you won't even understand why it's also important um, to have that sort of relationship and dynamic with other family members and also with your children. So
Mm-hmm.
for you to be able to do all that you're able to do at this point in time, it's important, like I said, to replenish, to put back, to fill back the glass. It's important for us to do that. It's very important for us to do that, because we can easily become burnt out, and then we'll be no good to ourselves, we'll be no good to our children, we'll be no good to our other family members who may be dependent on us in one way or the other. So we have to be a source of support for ourselves in order to be able to give that to our children and to our family as a whole. Otherwise, we'll crash if we don't take the time. Think about a garden. You have a beautiful flower garden or a vegetable garden, right? So you planted it, start to bear, it's flourishing. You said, okay, this is nice. And then you leave it like that for 3 months, 2 months even, the summer months. You leave it like that for 6 months, for a year. Is that garden the same? It definitely isn't. Why? No care was put into it. And if it is that we find, a lot of us find the time And we know we have to take care of our house. We have to keep it clean. We have to take care of that garden. We have to take the weeds out. We have to water the plants. We have to fertilize the soil. It's the same way. Otherwise, it's not going to serve the purpose it was intended. And it's the same way with us. If we don't replenish it, we don't take care of ourselves. And the sad thing about it is that a lot of time when we become a little too angry, stressed, burnt out, tired, fatigued, a lot of times we're not able to identify it. And who usually feels, the effect of that? It's the persons who are close to us. The persons who are close to us are the ones who usually suffer. And more than often, it's our children who usually suffers. And so, yes, we want to put as much time into taking care of our children as we ought to, but we have to put time into taking care of ourselves. We need to see it this way. If we take care of ourselves, we'll be better taking care of our children. And I know I mentioned this before, and it's something I usually mention often. It's not being selfish. It's taking care of you so you can take better care of your children.
Mhm.
Right?
And I know,
To your
especially,
next question, go ahead.
sorry, before I get to that, especially now that we're in a pandemic where there is added stress because there's a need to always sanitize before you go home, especially for essential services, essential workers, mothers who are doctors and nurses who might just be so exhausted and want to go home to just hug their children, but you can't do that because you have to make sure that you're well sanitized before,
Exactly.
Exactly. So do you want to just tell me a bit more, like, especially in this pandemic? I mean, you've been stressing and you brought up a lot of points about why it's important to practice self-care and look after yourself. But now that we're in a pandemic, now that there is more anxiety, now that there is more uh, uncertainty and fear, why is it even more important now?
So you mentioned it. We're in a pandemic. More anxiety. There's more fear. There's more stressors, daily stressors, financial. Children are home 24 hours per day. Usually they're in school for about 6 hours. And so they're usually away from the home roughly about 7 to 8 hours per day, Monday to Friday. So they're at home and you have them 24 hours per day. It's even more important now for us to ensure that there is a balance within ourselves and within our family and in terms of parenting. It's more important now for us to take care of ourselves just so that we can keep our sanity, so that we can remain calm and relaxed,
Mhm.
so that we don't have an increase in child abuse cases. It's more important now because it's very easy for persons to become frustrated.
Mhm. Mhm.
Very easy for persons to become um, angry and to lash out on children. It's more easy now than ever because it's peak, for everybody. It's very high where persons are worried where next month's rent may be coming from, or where a next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
Or the children are home, so they're demanding a bit more. They're demanding more of our time.
Mhm.
They're you know, and so basically we're sharing same space. And so it's very easy for persons to lash out. And so now more than ever, if we haven't stressed self-care and taking care of self, now more than ever is when parents really need to carve out that time just so that they can they can be the best that they possibly can be, in terms of providing care and love for their children and also for themselves.
Okay, thank you. So, how does our children benefit from all of this self-care? When we take care of ourselves, how does it directly benefit our children?
So, first of all, we mentioned before that by taking care of ourselves, it benefits children, first of all, whereby we're a role model to them, either
Mm-hmm.
directly or indirectly. So, we're
Mm-hmm.
modeling good behaviors to them. So, we're teaching them something. And that is one way that they actually it, right? It boosts our children's confidence as well. When we're at a good place in our life and with self, and if children are able to see that, and trust me, our children are able to discern, they're able to identify when now is not a good time to approach mommy. Now
Mm-hmm.
is not a good time. She upset, angry, right? And so they're able to see the difference between when you're relaxed and calm and happy and approachable, as opposed to angry, burnt out, stressed. Even if we're not identify it, they are able to pick up on those little cues. And so when we are in a good place, it boosts their self-esteem and their confidence in approaching us as well, right? And we teach them a lot because when we're in a good place, also, it means that we have a lot of confidence and self esteem and love for self. And so we're teaching them that as well.
Yeah.
A lot of times children don't approach their parents because they are afraid of what might happen, how their parents might react to them or respond to them. And so we have a lot of times children confide in others outside of the home. It might be a teacher, it might be a counselor, social worker, it
Mm-hmm.
might be a friend or somebody else they would
Mm-hmm.
confide in, and not their parents. A lot of times, when we have sexual abuse cases, sometimes the parent is the last to know. And one of the questions parents will often ask is, why you never tell me? Because the child never perceived you as being open to have a conversation with. And so it benefits our children when they see that we're actually, there's this openness that they can come to us, that
Mm-hmm.
they can come and they can bear whatever is bothering them and know and trust that mom or dad is going to deal with this information or this issue in a responsible way and is not going to lash out angrily at me, right? um Also, when parents demonstrate self-care and kindness, they're basically, what I must say, they're more so mindful and thoughtful of the approach that they use with their children. When you're loving and kind and aware of yourself, you're much more mindful of how it is what you say and what you do, your actions and your words, how it is that it affects your children. So you don't just haphazardly say things to your children that may hurt them. As the parent, as a parenting officer, on countless occasions, I know of parents who mindlessly say to a child, I wish if you'd have never born, or you're the reason why this is happening in my life, and they use all sorts of negative words and so on. And they mindlessly do it out of anger, out of frustration. And then when they think back about it, they say, I didn't mean it like that, or I didn't mean to say that. I was just angry. And so what they do is that the focus is off of dealing with whatever situation it is, and the focus is now on blaming and calling the child name. So when it is that you're more conscious and you're more aware, you realize issue is not in adding a tag or a label to the child,
Mhm.
but focusing on correcting behaviors. And so children can benefit tremendously if parents can only take that approach where you don't look at it as the child is a bad child. The behavior exhibited by the child, maybe it's a bad behavior, quote unquote, that we need to work on, you know, but it's not that the child, because when you say the child is a bad child, it shuts the child off. It shuts off any possibility of having real wholesome communication between you and the child, because the child might in turn say, well, mommy said bad, so I might as well be bad. Of course, we know there's always a flip side where a child might say, okay, but I'll prove her wrong. But that is 1 out of 10. And 9 out of 10 is going to say, she's not bad, so I might as well be bad. I'm already labeled as bad. So we have to be very mindful. And one of the only ways that we can do that is when we're aware, we're conscious. And I think that is one of the benefits of caring for self, is that it makes us more aware, one, of self and aware of others, aware of how our interactions, our actions, the words that we use, even our thoughts towards others, how it can dramatically affect them, particularly our children. So we're more aware, we're more conscious of our actions. And in essence, that is what parenting is. It's really being conscious of everything that we do, our actions, particularly towards our children, and how it is that it's going to affect them. We really want to create an environment where our children can blossom, where they can be nourished, and where they can flourish. We want to create that type of environment. And in order for us to do that, it has to start with self. Another interesting point that just popped up for me, why it's important to self-care. A lot of adults who are parents haven't been parented in the correct way. And so through self-care, we're actually able to reparent and repair some of that damage that has been done. Through self-care, first and foremost, we're actually able to identify those areas where we were neglected or abused, you know, where parenting was done poorly, where we were parented poorly, and we're able to heal ourselves in those areas. And by doing so, we even recognize areas where we might be failing in terms of parenting our children, areas where we need to improve on. So self-care holistically, it helps us to heal, and it helps our parenting approach. It helps significantly the way that we're able to love and care and nurture and protect our children. I hope that answers that question for you.
Okay, so thank you for that. And I think we now see why it is important that parents take care of themselves, why self-care is so important. And I don't think Stacy and I could have stressed it more because like growing up you would hear the women from the older generation priding themselves in working hard, so hard that they had only 2 to 4 hours of rest. And you wonder, is this
Yeah.
what motherhood is going to be? How am I going to handle this? But that doesn't have to be your reality. And it's important that you understand that
Mhm.
self-care is not something that's necessarily expensive. No, different persons can afford different things. Some persons can only afford to wake up a bit earlier and spend 10 to 20 minutes doing some introspection, thinking, drinking some hot tea bag. It doesn't even have to have milk. You
Exactly.
understand?
And
And
it's
so,
actually healthier for you without the milk.
exactly. So it's important when somebody might be able to go to a spa. I can remember growing up, Stacey, and hearing my mom say, When I do my hair and when I do my nails, I just feel so nice. And even now she does it whenever she's stressed or so, she would go and try to get her hair done or do her nail. And sometimes not all the time you can afford these things. So sometimes you just try to do something as simple as read a book. You know,
Mhm.
read a book, sit aside for 20 minutes, pick up, read the label on something. Just do something that makes you
Read a
relax.
magazine. One of the things that I see a lot of adults are doing, and it's actually being reported as being very calming, is coloring, adult coloring. And so it's the same concept of a child's coloring books. Now they have some for adults, but it's a regular book. Just have some crayons or some markers and you color. It's very calming, it's relaxing, it helps to focus your helps you in terms of focusing, because while you're doing that, you're able to even sort out and work through a lot of thoughts and feelings that mental processes. You're able to work through a lot of those. But there are many, many things. One of the things that I personally love, it's to have an extremely long bath. And it usually goes for about an hour. And so I'm not just having a bath just to just cleanse dirt. It's very refreshing for me. For somebody else, that might not be their thing. For me, it's starting with my head, where I would wash my hair. I might do a little pedicure, scrub my feet in the bath, maybe shave my legs, whatever it is. One of the things that I usually say to adults, to parents, is that all you need is a little basin or a little tub, some warm water. You know, you might have a fancy foot soak. I think something just to soak your feet maybe once per week, and you can make it an activity that you do with your partner, and so you don't have to might not have necessarily have to go to the spa if you don't have the money to do that, and to spend 3 or 5,000 or $4,000 on a pedicure. You can actually do that. You can put your legs up and have your feet scrubbed by your partner, and you can do the same for your partner. And that's a bonding in itself. Or you can do it for yourself, because some people might say, but I'm a single parent, I don't have a partner. It's something you can do for yourself. And it's very rewarding, because you're actually taking care of yourself. You're getting the necessary things that you need to do, and you don't have to feel guilty about spending a lot of money. Because in families where money is a bit constrained, parents often feel guilty also about spending that extra money. And that is a real issue, and it's understandable, because you're going to choose between maybe going to get a pedicure as opposed to ensuring that there's food for your children. The most obvious choice would be the food for your children. But you might still, for your own, you might still need that pedicure. So you can do a home pedicure. And we know that with the advent of technology, we have YouTube and so on. There's a lot of DIY do it yourself on YouTube. So just by the click of a button, you can find a lot of ways that you can do things that you would normally pay for by yourself. You can buy your own essential oils from the pharmacy. They're very inexpensive. Coconut oil is a great essential oil that you can buy a pint of, or you can make. And you can have an oil to rub your tired feet, or to give you that back, massage, or a neck massage, or a hand massage. Those are simple things that you can do, and you don't have to break the bank to do it. You don't have to feel bad about doing it. And more importantly, you can do it right now at home and still be safe.
I think that's very important, and I also think that you know as essential as being a good, as important as being a good parent is, also it is equally important to take care of oneself, to really make sure that you are mentally and emotionally intact in order to pour out. And something that I usually say, that and something that came up in our discussion yesterday, was that you cannot pour from an empty vessel. So
Yeah,
if you're empty, then your children are benefiting nothing. So when you think of self-care, think of your children. Think of, I'm doing this because I need to be the best me so that I can be the best parent to my children. And I think
correct.
as long as parents can really understand that, then we will have, a lot more positive parenting, and there will be way less instances of abuse, because when parents are taken care of, then they will understand the importance of parenting positively. They will understand the importance of not physically or verbally or emotionally abusing or sexually abusing their children. So I'm so happy that we had this conversation, Stacy. Though we're a bit pressed for time, I think something that we really need to consider is the fact that every day we grow. We are not perfect. Parenting doesn't come in a manual. As a matter of
No,
fact, yesterday we had four parents and we were discussing the challenges of parenting, especially in this pandemic, and the importance of coming out of this pandemic with your
mhm.
sanity, because we know that it's going to be difficult. It is difficult. I'm not a parent, but it is difficult. You understand?
Very much
Because
so.
good, and so there are parents who lost their jobs, who don't have monies. So we're urging you to please take care of yourself, and that is how you're going to take care of your children.
Correct.
Yes. And Stacy would have mentioned, persons children being abused, and then there are instances where parents are also being abused, where you live in a situation or a home where domestic violence is prevalent, and so you have to deal with the abuse, the abuser, and then you have to deal with your children. Think about your mental state. Do you want to continue living this kind of life? Is this what you were cut out for? And no one deserves to be abused. No one deserves to be, to feel
And
it.
also, we have to think about what message we're sending to our children. What is it we're teaching them? Because whatever we expose them to, they're gonna, they're learning from that. And so we have
Yes.
to always be thinking about what is it that we're going through, our difficulties, whether it be difficulties in terms of whether we're depressed, we're burnt out, or if
Hmm.
it is that we're in an abusive relationship, how it's
Hmm.
affecting our children.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
So,
decisions that we
mhm.
make have to be in the best interest
Yep.
for our children.
Yep. Yep. I want to share help and shelters numbers with anyone who might be in an abusive situation, and you need to get out, you need help, you need an escape. You can call 225-4731. That is 225-4731. I will also put it in the comments. You can call 227-3454. 227-3454, or you can call their toll-free number, which is 0910. Also, if you know any case of a child being abused, you can call CPA's hotline. You can be an anonymous caller. You don't have to say who is calling, but you can report at 227-0979. That number again is 227-0979, or you can call ChildLinK on 233-3500. That is 233-3500. I will upload those numbers to our Facebook page so that persons can have access to helpline numbers. I'll try to get some numbers out there for you guys. So you can just simply visit the page and make the calls that you need for any help. Also, feel free to there are a lot of groups and persons who are preparing hampers and stuff for parents or families who are in need. So you can feel free to reach out to some of those places. Those are some information that I will try to also share with you on our Facebook page. So you can reach out, and get the assistance and the help that you need. Uh, so I'm gonna ask Stacy one more time. Can you? Is there any final remarks? Is there anything else that you would like to add at this time before we go?
I just want to say to parents that I want them to realize that parenting starts with self. So in order for you to be effective parenting, you have to start, the work has to start with you, with yourself. And now more than ever, it's very important for parents to love themselves and to be kind themselves. And if you love yourself, you're gonna take if you love yourself and you love your children, you're
Mhm.
gonna take the necessary time to do the work on self that is gonna give you the possible
Mhm.
result in terms of parenting and taking care of your children.
Yeah. Okay, yes. So thank you so much for joining me today, Stacey, and thanks to the persons who joined and listened to the discussion. It was very productive. I hope that we give you some valuable information and that you learned something. Remember, this video will be on our Facebook page, so you can feel free to share. Feel free to sit and have a conversation with a parent about self-care, because there are parents who don't have internet, so who don't have access to the internet, but you are fortunate enough to be here today to be a part of this discussion. So we're just asking you to share, talk with other parents, share this video so other parents who weren't here have can see and have an idea of the importance of self-care. Remember that self-care, or taking care of yourself, is part of taking care of your children.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Stacy. It was a pleasure
You're welcome,
having you as a
Teresa.
guest on this program. Um,
Same here.
on Yes, on Life with ChildLinK. And so until next time, bye. Enjoy your day.
Bye.
Okay, so